In this lesson, we'll talk a little bit about placing of columns, column placement. So I'm just in a file that comes with the data set for this training set for a Revit Structure 2014, and I've got just a basic kind of grid project. So open up the basic grid project, but this is easy enough to create from the default Revit Structure template file. And I'm going to start just by adding some more levels here, going to the south elevation, and on my structure tab I'm going to go over here to level. I'm not going to worry too much about the exact numbers. Click over here, escape, probably pick on here, pull this guy up, and probably go to an opposing elevation. At least you know what I'm like at this point, meticulous about my view settings. So we've got that stuff in there, and now we can say go back to our level 1. Okay, we've got a couple more levels in there. We also made sure we had create new floor plans. So as I made new levels, it made new floor plans, and I didn't check off analytical or ceiling plans, so it didn't make any ceiling plans. Oh, it did make ceiling plans. So that would have been checked off when we made our levels up on our options bar. So as we place columns, if we go to structure, we start the column tool. First thing, of course, is it's going to provide the columns that are loaded. If we don't see the one we want inside of here, we go load family, we go to the structural columns inside of here, the bottom, and then we go wood, steel, or whatever. We can pick the column, okay, that we want. Maybe we want, you know, a hollow structural section, and then we hit open, and then we can pick our sizes off here, okay. And let's just bring in a 203 by, let's go up a little higher. So a 203 is about 8 inches, so an 8 by 8 by, 3/16 of an inch, and then in comes that column. So regardless of what column you pick, we always want to check over here as we place this column, okay? By default, a lot of times the first thing it does is it defaults to slanted. You really have to look over here. If it says first click, second click, it means this has been set. We want to go up here and say vertical to start with, which means it's going straight up, changes our options bar. We also want to make sure we're on the right level before we place our column. If you want to rotate it after you place it, you put this on, it automatically goes into rotate mode. So from that level, do we want to go up? Yes, we do. We want to go height, not depth. Depth goes down. We've learned that from our previous lesson. So as we say height, we can say height up to level 2, and then we can start to place those columns along here. Columns magnetize to grids. It also says moves with grids, which means that even if it's close to a grid, it'll move with the grid line. And there's kind of a default factory setting on if it gets close enough to that grid line, it'll actually move with the grid even though it's not touching it. So as we place these columns, we can go around placing these columns, and they are going from level 1, which is my current level, up to height of level 2. So we can go around and pick on here. While we're in there, and before or after, we don't want to pick these ones again, but we can also go in here and say at grids. Now we go into this little sub drafting mode where we have to hit finish or cancel, and what I'm going to do is pick and hold my mouse in and then let go here. Boom. And it automatically finds the intersection of these 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and it plugs those in. I don't want to pick this grid line because it'll put those in. Okay, I can switch over here to a 3D view while I'm in there. Okay, at this point it's not showing them because I need to go back and hit my finish button. Okay, let's go back to my level 1. And oh, interesting, when I went to my 3D view, it actually bumped me out of that. Let's try that again. Columns, okay, at grids, and you have to hold your mouse button in. You can't just see, it's actually a little temporary thing. See, window box won't work. Okay, you've got to do a crossing box, or you use your control button and click the, oh, didn't mean to do that. Use your control button to pick the grid. So you can use the control button, or you can hold the mouse in and go to the left. Okay, if you go to the right, you'll get these guys because it's a window box, but you'll still have to use your control button and grab these guys again. Click and hold. Takes a little bit of practice. So what we have learned here quickly is if I change my view, it kind of bumps me out of this. So I've got to hit my finish, and then it still leaves me in the column command. I can hit escape on the keyboard, and then I can go to my 3D view, and there's my columns. If I go to a south elevation or north elevation, there's my columns, and of course because they're going up to that level, if I move the level, it'll move the columns. Perfect. Okay, so if I want that column to go above that point, now that I've placed it, I can click over here and I can say from level 1 with an offset of 0, and it might have a base plate and some grout space in there. You could add that in, up to level 2, and we might say up to level 2 plus 600 millimeters, which is about 2 feet. Maybe we want a splice point here, and then the next column will go all the way to the top, or splice to here, and then another one. Sometimes we want that hinge or splice point not right at this intersection. Okay, we can do that to all of them at once. We can go to our 3D view. We can grab all these columns because they're all the same category. And, oh, is it not letting us? Oh, there you go. So now what we have to do is we'd have to go in here and do these all one at a time. What if we use our paint? I doubt that's going to work. Let's use our... Not quite. So we would have to go through and do all of these separately if we wanted to bump them up. And you don't get that option when you place them. Okay, let's erase all these guys. Boom, delete on the keyboard. Back to my level 1. Now let's do it on level 2 for a change. Okay, we'll go column again, structural, column. Again, we can place one at a time. Check your vertical. Height up to, it assumes the next level, level 3. Good, good, good. Again, I can pick them, or I can say at grid lines. Do a big crossing box holding my mouse button in, and then hit finish, and then escape and click out. And actually I want to undo that. I want to bring that back. Okay, part of my point here in the little mini lesson is that you can't place the vertical or the top or bottom offset while you make the column. I mean, that's actually just something that I take for granted, and I'm realizing as I'm going through this. So as you place a column, you have this option to say height, up to, etc. But you'll notice you don't get any options in here to offset the top or bottom of the column. You have to you get to go from the work plane to the work plane. If you've created a work plane above level 1, you could make that your current work plane, but for the most part, it's using level 2 or your levels, and then it's going up to here. But watch, after you place the column, be it through the at grids or manually, okay, and then you hit escape, and then you pick on that column. Okay, you might have to use your tab button. Now all of a sudden you get these options up to level 3 plus 600. So I'm going to use a control C, copy it to the clipboard, and then I can go into here and I can do a control V. Okay, might even be worthwhile to just take this guy then and say copy and use multiple, and then grab this intersection here, boom, and try it this way instead, because now we've changed that offset. Revit loves to snap to grid lines. That might even be faster than actually going in and plugging in. Let's go to our south elevation. Okay, there's all our columns going up to there. These ones, now what if we wanted this bottom offset at 300? I should have did that beforehand before I did my copy. Okay, go to my 3D view, and there's all my columns. So if you go to a level, now if we go up to the top level, level 4, and we place a column, okay, and we say height, because we're at level 4, it's going to always go to unconstrained because there is no level above level 4. So unconnected just means give me a hard number of, say, 3,500, which is about 12 feet or so. And then after you put that in, then I can say at grid line, same as before, click out, and then finish. Hit my modifier, hit escape, escape, go to a 3D view, and there's my column sitting up there at level 4. These guys are going from level 2 to level 3 with an offset of 600. If either one of these levels move, these columns will change. This guy is from level 4 and up to level 4 with a vertical offset of 3500. Okay, a little bit different. Okay, I could also change this to, no, I'm going to just leave it like that. Say, if you try to draw a column up to a level below, it's just going to give you an error.